What's up, everyone? Welcome to the most positive pop culture podcast in the multiverse, Metalcore Nerds. For each episode, I have a guest from the podcasting music community. We talk about the latest and greatest in entertainment. I'm your Sean Mott, and today we're talking about the Fantastic Four First Steps. My co-host this episode is Ryan of 156 Silence. Welcome back to the show.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Few years.
Yeah. I was trying to think earlier how long it's been. I think it's been like 3 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's been a minute. So I'm it's funny, we were both talking before we hit record of how we were both wanting this to happen again. So I'm glad it's happening for this movie.
Absolutely,
for sure. It's a good time to be a nerd. I feel like I've been saying that for the past 5 years, but it only gets better as time goes along, I think.
It really is. Great. Between all of the great comics that are coming out, the great TV shows, all the movies. It's a great time to be a nerd, for sure.
I love it. I love it so much. And of course, whether you return to the show or first time listener, thank you so much for tuning in. Best way to support the show, subscribe to your favorite podcasting platform. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit the subscribe button there, hit the like button, comment, let us know what you thought about the Fantastic Four. And if you're listening to this, hit that 5-star review. It helps the podcast continue to grow, helps more people find the show. And if you want our daily fix of Metalcore Nerds, you can find us on all social media at Metalcore Nerds. Now, before we go into the Fantastic Four of it all, I want to go back to what got you into TV, movies, comics, whatever it may be that was your first entryway into this world of pop culture. I want to know your pop culture origin story. So lay it on me.
Back to the beginning. I don't know. I've always kind of been a movie guy. My dad would take us to the movies a whole bunch growing up. As far as like comic book content goes, I had my best friend growing up. He pulled out like a stack of Wolverine comics one day and let me borrow some. And I took them home, was like, this is sick. So that's probably around where I started reading comics. And then I was always into the old Batman movies. They're corny, but they're great. Spider-Man, and then just got better and bigger as we got older. So
were you in with the MCU from the jump, like Iron Man from then?
Oh yeah. I don't know if I went to see Iron Man in theaters or not, but I definitely went and saw the first Avengers movie in theaters. And then I think after that I was like, all right, I'm all in. I'm going to try to go to as many as I can.
That's super awesome. I do want to know, obviously, you're in the touring. You guys have been touring a lot lately, and that's not stopping anytime soon. Do you guys go to the movies while you're on tour at all, like on off days or anything like that?
So we've only gone to one movie on tour so far, and that was the first Joker movie.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
How was that?
It was, I loved it. I mean, the other guys aren't like huge comic book or superhero people, but we were hearing great things about it while we were on the road, and we had an off day and we're like, yeah, what's showing? All right, let's go watch it. And I was like, yes,
win.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Outside of that, are you a big moviegoer? Usually outside even from the big, superhero movies, everything like that. What's your kind of theater going habit like?
Me and my girlfriend probably go see a movie 2 times a month, sometimes 3. Like we went and saw Superman a couple weeks ago, I think. And then yesterday we went and saw Fantastic Four. And then next week we're going to go see Together. And then 2 weeks after that, we're going to go see Weapons. We would go the week after Together, but we're actually going to record a new song. So taking a week off, but then when I get back, we'll go see Weapons.
I'm so amped for Weapons. And Together,
yeah,
but more so Weapons.
It looks so good.
Going into Fantastic Four, so easy blanket, what was your general thoughts when you left the theaters? I know you messaged me, but maybe extrapolate a little bit more what you messaged me of what you thought about the movie.
Oh man, I loved it. I've been reading a lot of Fantastic Four comics recently. I wasn't super familiar with the first family. Like I knew who they were, but I never read anything about them. And I started with Jonathan Hickman's Fantastic Four run. And it was great. And all of the themes and like the personalities of the individual characters and the real emphasis on family just really shone through in this movie, and it did everything that I wanted it to do. I don't think it was perfect. I have a few, little things that I think
Okay.
they could have done a little better, but I loved it.
I didn't love it, but I really liked it. It's not that's not even like a slight against the movie. I think seeing Superman 2 weeks before may have hindered my viewing of this
Oh,
movie a
for
little,
sure.
but I still think it was great. It's so my wife, she did not she thought it was fine. She has very valid criticism for why, but we had a very hearty debate after the movie of like, I was like, what were you looking for in this movie? And she made a good point that it's like, it's kind of hard to throw away, but she's like, I feel like if this came out in like phase 1 or phase 2, this would have been an absolute home run. But now that we have, the Infinity Wars, the End Games, No Way Homes, blah, 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 it's hard to like go at that bar. And I get that 100%. Because I do think it does feel kind of like a phase 1 movie in a lot of ways. And that's not a slight. I think that's what this movie needed to be. I think it just needed to be, especially with what we've had in Fantastic Four movies prior, the last 20 years of them. And it's funny because there's a YouTube channel called The Real Rejects, and they put up like pretty much like rewatches of the Tim Story ones, the ones with Chris Evans, Jessica Alba, and all that stuff. So I kind of abridgedly watch them because it's obviously like cut up and not the full thing because it's on YouTube. And I was like, these are like fine, but like I feel like they're such a bad representation of the characters. Kind of like what you said, like the Hickman stuff is what I mostly know the Fantastic Four from as well. Hickman's Secret Wars is my favorite Marvel like event ever. I think
Absolutely.
Hickman is just the best. Like he's just unreal. So it's like that's and like you look at those characterizations and you're like, yeah, it's so of its time too. Like the whole Jessica Alba all feels so 2000s and just off. I think the only good representation might have been Ben Grimm, maybe. Chris Evans' and Johnny Storm is like fun, but I feel like they left a lot on the table, especially what Chris Evans can deliver as an actor. But that was really young in his career, and again, it was the 2000s, so I didn't expect much of it. Obviously, the easiest comparison you can do is that the second one had Silver Surfer and Galactus, which famously they make Galactus a cloud for some reason, which is even worse now watching it because as Galactus is coming to Earth, his shadow is shown on a planet, and it's a comic accurate shadow shown on the planet. And I was like, this makes the cloud so much worse. I was like, you teased the thing and then you didn't deliver on the thing. But it's the same thing too. Like I love what they did in world building, introducing us to this new world. I think it was a massive plus to not be like hindered by the 20 years of MCU-ness that it like if it somehow the Fantastic Four was in the 616, I feel like it would have been too messy, too convoluted, and wouldn't have made any sense. It would have been Eternals all over again, where you're like, where were you guys when all this stuff was happening? They're like, oh, we said we couldn't. And I'm like, that's a terrible reason. We couldn't have one of those again. It wouldn't have made any sense. Like, oh yeah, these 4 superheroes just weren't there the whole time. Doesn't make any sense.
We
so
were off in space.
Right. Awful reasoning. So I'm glad they set it in a different world. I did just do an article for Collider that pretty much explained. Matt Shackman directed this. He also directed WandaVision, and how like WandaVision was like the perfect setup for him to do this movie, because a lot of stuff is very focused on family, it's very focused on emotion. They also like they went through eras of sitcoms where he had to use tools and different effects, like practical ways of doing things to match that era in a current lens. And it's the perfect thing for this. They're in the 1960s in New York, but it's retro futuristic. Like I love the setting of it all. I think as we'll get into it, because I've been trying to think, because I was like, I don't really know what I feel like is missing from this movie. I think I may have pinpointed it, but I'm still a little unsure of it. I think it might been the third act, which we'll get to in a little bit. But overall, I really liked it. I think everyone was perfectly cast. I know some people doubted Pedro. I never did, because I know he's an incredible actor, and just he exceeded my expectations in the role, because especially probably what from the Hickman stuff is that some of the dialogue he said in this was the perfect tease for things we might get later on with Reed. And I just love, he was emotional in the movie, don't get me wrong, but he struggled with logic over emotion. And I loved seeing that struggle because that's
Oh
what
yeah,
someone like Reed Richards should struggle with. He's the smartest
that's
dude in the
classic
universe.
Reed.
Exactly. So I think all of them played their parts perfectly. I love how Johnny wasn't just, like a fuckboy idiot. He is smart, which he should be. He's a fucking astronaut. Like
Right.
the dude should be smart. So I'm glad they had that little side plot of him figuring stuff out on his own, showing his intelligence. Like that was really cool. And I mean, Joseph Quinn is amazing. Obviously, he's famously Eddie from Stranger Things, but now since that and then he's been in a million things. Gladiator 2, the Quiet Place prequel, a bunch of stuff. And I'm glad he's starting to like be in more things because he's great. So good. Eben Moss-Backrack, God, that dude is just the
Killed
best.
it. Yeah.
I think the only thing I could say that would complain about is that I wanted more of Ben Grimm. That's my complaint.
Absolutely.
Because he was awesome. He was so great. He was so soft and like I just loved it. He was great. Again, that's the only thing I could complain. I was like, I wish I had more. But exactly like you said, the family dynamic is what this movie needed to succeed, and they delivered on that tenfold. Do you have a favorite member of the family?
I think right off the cuff, my favorite is definitely Ben Grimm. But I also really like Reed Richards, even though he's, for as smart as he is, he can be kind of an idiot sometimes.
Yeah.
And they showed why I really like those characters in the movie. Ben Grimm is just a big teddy bear and very supportive. And I feel like he's kind of the glue that holds everyone together in this movie.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, Reed struggling with, him being so intelligent and needing to figure out the world's problems, but also having to be a father and a husband and a friend, and how those things conflict sometimes. I think Pedro Pascal did a really good job.
He's really good at playing emotional characters. And like I said, it's weird because it's like it's almost hard to call Reed emotional, but you do see it in this movie. It's just he always puts logic over emotion. And he kind of I love that line he said where he's like, I need to think of the worst case scenarios so no one else has to. Like he has this like burden that he puts on himself in order to like save the world and eventually obviously save the multiverse, which I'm sure is coming for sure.
The line when he's talking to Franklin, when he says, I don't want you to be like me, like that hit me so hard.
I was like, damn, dude. I was like, oh, it's so rough. And it was cool to see like him and Sue kind of butt heads a little bit. It was similar to like what happened in Superman, where you see Lois and Clark have fights and stuff like that. But I think it's nice to, especially in like the superhero medium, to show that like, hey, yeah, relationships are going to have disagreements. They're going to have arguments. They're going to have very differing philosophies. We don't live in a monolith. Like we're going to have different opinions from each other, especially when you're in a relationship and you live and work together. Like it's going to happen. It's inevitable. And I like that they're finally showcasing that stuff. But that was a very good part in that. Vanessa Kirby was also incredible. Like there's nothing to take away from her. But
I think she might have been my favorite character in the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, and some of it's probably due to that last fight. Her just putting it all out there to save Franklin. But she killed it. They all killed it. It was
It is kind of her movie in a lot of ways. She is kind of the main character, which obviously it's the family's movie, but she is kind of the the star of the show for good reason. I think like she is kind of the like Ben might be the glue, but she's definitely kind of the leader.
Oh, for sure.
You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So it was super cool to see that. Silver Surfer and Galactus. Man, I did not expect how awesome they were going to be. The second act, I'm still thinking about that second act. It is unreal. I mean, I'm a massive Interstellar fan, and obviously it's like the biggest love letter to Interstellar probably ever. There's time dilation, there's a wormhole, there's a whole docking sequence. Like it is very obviously, and I mean, Matt Shackman said Interstellar and 2001: A Space Odyssey were big inspirations for the movie. But I was so in awe of the scale of Galactus, the design of Galactus, even his ship and like how it worked. because like sometimes in the comics he literally just like eats a planet, like he just like ingests it because he's so massive. But like having it be this crazy vehicle that like kind of drills through planets, and that was what a cool misleading thing in the trailer too, because a lot of people like fairly enough, a lot of people thought, oh, their universe is cooked, like it's just gonna die at the end of this, which is a fair assumption. It
I
very
kind of thought that that's what was going to happen because I'm
me
like,
too,
I'm still racking my brain. Like, how are they going to get
right?
to, our universe?
Right.
But I'm sure Doctor Doom will have a lot to do with that, probably.
I think so as well. But like to see how in that shot in the trailer where you see like the planet, like you see them in the ship and the planet's like falling apart, and it just being them witnessing a planet get totally eviscerated, and seeing kind of the fear in them to be like, yeah, this is going to be a big problem to deal with. And just the whole chase sequence of Silver Surfer literally surfing a
That was
black
so sick.
hole. It was so cool. Her surfing lava, like, oh my God. So cool. So unbelievably cool. And, I mean, I know some people were mad that it was Shala Ball and not Norrin Rad, but like, we got to stop with this gender swapping thing, especially when there's comic precedent for it. Like, relax.
Oh, absolutely.
Relax. It's not
And they're like, as far as we know right now, they're in a different universe, different Galactus, different Silver Surfer, like I feel like he'll get his time eventually,
I think so too. I think they purposely did Shala Ball in this version so Norrin Rad can shine later for sure. I think it was done very much because even when they announced that, I was like, oh, that kind of makes sense. This is an alternate universe, blah blah blah. Like I'm sure Norrin Rad is out there somewhere just waiting to come and be a bigger picture kind of character, especially from what people have been saying about post Secret Wars stuff. It's going to be a lot of cosmic stuff, a lot of supernatural stuff, and then X-Men. That's the kind of the pillars of the MCU, kind of as it should be, and I'm sure Fantastic Four will probably deal a lot of places with the cosmic. And that's another thing I wasn't really expecting, is so much of the movie to kind of take place in space. I did not expect that at all. And I was like, this is really cool. I'm glad we got to see that, like them as actual astronauts post their powers. I thought that was so cool.
I think the space scenes were definitely up there on like my favorite scenes in the movie. There's so many times, especially like you said, the second half, where I would like grab my girlfriend's arm and be like, oh my God, But the first time they see the planet explode, they get stuck in the tractor beam and they walk in, and the first time Galactus's eyes light up, I was just like,
so sick.
Oh my God. And then like I knew his I forget his name, the guy who plays
Ralph
Galactus.
Ineson, I think is how you're pronouncing
I knew his voice was going to be menacing, but good God, it was just so scary. And I'm glad he wasn't a cloud.
Thank God. Thank God he wasn't a cloud. Yeah, I knew his voice would be epic too. As soon as they cast him, I was like, oh wow, that's perfect casting. And then seeing him talk about how he informed how he's going to do the voice, and like talking about how it was like gravelly because of like what he is and his like purpose. And, he's like, he's not really a villain. He's just fulfilling his cosmic duty and everything like that. I was like, this is awesome. And that's because like he was informed in the script, probably, like a lot of these, so many people get worked up and they're like, oh, they didn't, like these actors didn't read the comics. And I'm like, it's not their job. Their job is to do what's on the script. It's the people behind it. It's their job
the writers
to do that. Yeah. So like, I mean, obviously, like I feel like this might be one of the most comic booky MCU movies. Like it really did feel like a comic, especially with like the intro. You're like, bam, here's this new world, here's these new characters, here we go. And I love that about it. It's the same thing with Superman. It's just like, it just feels like you just opened up a new comic and just started reading, and I love that. It was really cool to see, and to see kind of this new like era of just, they're going full tilt, full weird, full comic book in this stuff. And I love it. Just makes me so excited for the future of this stuff. If it's going to be like this, let's go. I'm so ready for how weird it can be.
The grounded in real life, is a time and place kind of thing, and it works for
sure.
certain characters. But I love that it's for Superman and Fantastic Four. They're, like you said, it feels like you're flipping through the pages of a comic book. We're not afraid to get weird and a little goofy anymore.
Yeah.
Just do it.
Yeah, it's such a cool love letter to what came before it, as it should be, I think. So sick. And one of the coolest things about Galactus, I don't know if you know this, but the scenes where he comes to New York, they built a small scale like retrofuturist New York, and Ralph Ineson is in a practical Galactus suit, and he's like walking through this miniature town, and they just
That's
enhance
sick.
stuff with CGI. So that's why it looks so good, because it's practical stuff. And that's a lot of the stuff I was talking about with like the WandaVision stuff. Like there's not, I mean, obviously there's scenes with CGI and like whatever, but like a lot of that was done just totally as it is. Like we know Vision is painted on, is the whole makeup is they do that beforehand. It's like, and then they probably just enhance a few things in post and everything like that. But just in the same thing happened with Thunderbolts. Like I love that the MCU's kind of taking things back, kind of what Star Wars has done in recent years too. I guess besides the volume, which the volume can be used in a very good way, but I think movies became too reliant on that, and I'm really happy to see them go to like we're building real sets, we're doing things as practical as possible. And I mean I almost have called it like the James Gunn approach, because that's what he's always done. But he comes from like a very DIY horror low budget background, so it's like what he's used to. He just kept bringing it to a higher level. So I love that we're seeing it kind of being implemented in these newer movies. I mean, Chloe Zhao did it too. I know a lot of Eternals was shot on location, and then I mean, obviously there's a lot of CGI shots in that too. But I think it looks so good. It's because they didn't have to go, oh, this scene didn't work, we have to redo 90% of this in CGI.
Right.
They just, they can spend time on the stuff they need to spend time on. And I think
I love that they're bringing back practical effects. I think they did a lot of practical effects in Alien Romulus as well.
Oh yeah.
And it just looks so good. And while it's probably more time consuming to like create something like physically like that, it just looks better than trying to render it all with CGI.
It's always going to look better. I'm hoping that's because these two movies, I think, are the first two movies after the kind of big dramatic MCU shift in how they do things. Daredevil was kind of the first TV series, but only like half of it, because they end up reshooting a bunch of it post-strike and everything like that. But now we're finally starting to see all of these projects that are done under this like new guise of like very much quality over quantity. Obviously, the amount of content we're getting from the MCU is much less than it has been in years prior. I guess the last 2 years has been a lot less than the 3 or 4 years before that. So it's good to see them kind of go back to their root of things and really take their time to make sure that like this stuff is going to be quality stuff. I think it's what it's needed. Obviously, the talk of MCU has been, MCU's dead, MCU's back for years.
Yeah.
But I think this year has been a really good year for them. I mean, I even liked I liked Brave New World. I didn't love it, but I thought it was a pretty good movie. But I think part of the prior MCU stuff is what held that movie back, and showing pretty much the entire movie in the trailers. Not the plot, but I mean, giving away most of the fight. They did that.
Yeah. I also really enjoyed Thunderbolts. I went and saw that in theaters, and we also went and saw Captain America. I enjoyed it, but the whole time you're just waiting for Captain to fight Red Hulk.
Yeah. Once and then it doesn't come to the third act, you're like, really?
Okay. Yeah.
I was kind of waiting for like the third act surprise. Like what's the like think about Shang-Chi, like you had no idea there was this crazy dragon mystic battle at the end. You were like, oh, this is where we're going. Okay, I'm in. But with that, they kind of just they're like, yep, here's the ending. We'll get there eventually. It kind of sullies the journey a little bit. You know what I mean? Like imagine if they like teased Red Hulk, then I think it might have been a little bit more impactful. But I think they were scared. It's the first Captain America movie without Chris Evans, and they probably just wanted to get butts in seats, which they kind of did. It did fine. It didn't do great. But then you look at Thunderbolts. Everyone loved it. The movie didn't do that well. But Feige came out with this crazy interview. I don't know if you read anything on it. You've probably seen snippets of it on the internet, but he pretty much sat down with some of the biggest trades there are and did this like hour-long interview talking about the future, talking about the past, talking about mistakes and everything like that. And he was kind of like, they're doing a new thing with TV shows where it's like they want the TV shows to be the TV shows, the movies to be the movies. And because he thinks Thunderbolts kind of didn't do as well because it's a lot of people from TV shows and people might not have watched it, and it probably didn't translate to carry over to that. And that's a bummer because that movie is awesome. But I'm sure once it hits Disney Plus, it's going to have a massive boom of people talking about it again. That seems to be the formula with the MCU anyway. A lot of people who skip something for theaters, as soon as it comes out on Disney Plus, people start talking about it again. Complaints. You said you had a few. I think my major complaint is I feel like the third act, I don't know what's about it. I feel like I expected something bigger, maybe it's because the second act was so sick that and the third act was fine. It just felt, I don't know. There's something about it that felt empty, I guess. The Sue Storm of it all was cool and everything like that. And thank God superhero movies have learned, evacuate the damn city.
I was literally going to bring that up. I was like, both Superman and Fantastic Four both did evacuation scenes. Yeah.
I was like, let's go. Because I've said this before. The third act of Man of Steel, dumb. Like the dumbest thing probably ever. As soon as I saw that in Superman, I was like, oh, thank God. They learned. Yeah. Jesus.
The superheroes save people. Yes.
Awesome. I mean, at least in Thunderbolts too, there was a good writing way to like how people got back, and you saw them saving people. You know, they made the point to be like, they're saving lives. That was awesome. But same in this one too. Evacuate the city. You know this big cosmic threat's coming. Let's save these people. Okay.
Yeah.
And that was cool. And that was a cool added thing to it. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like that's the one thing that I'm like holding on to that I think would have taken from me liking it to loving it. Maybe. I'm not really sure. I know a lot of stuff was cut, and there was a longer version of this movie that will never see the light of day somewhere out there. Like John Malkovich played Red Ghost, which they mentioned in the opening kind of montage. But I don't think that stuff would have, I don't know if that would have added more to the movie. I think it's just things I know that I'm like, oh, it would have been cool to see. But I don't think those added scenes, I guess there's some other scenes with Mole Man and stuff like that. I don't think it would have made the movie better per se. I think it's more of me knowing about it and being like, yeah, it would have been cool to see that. You know, that's the difference I'm playing with in my head with that stuff.
And that's why I think John Malkovich not being in it is more of a complaint than a criticism, just because I was expecting that going in. So I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to see this crazy old guy play, crazy wacky character. Let's go. I wasn't vibing with Mole Man that much. I was like, because in the beginning I was like, all right, whatever. Like there's a quick snippet of him. He's not going to be integral to the story. And then they bring him back. And I was like, Mole Man's supposed to be a creepy dude who lives underground. This is just, a guy wearing weird glasses. And he just walks into the Baxter building wearing like a suit. So I don't know. That's fair. Do wish that they would have, and this is also just a complaint, not really a criticism. I wish they would have shown Reed's powers a little bit more, I think. Because in the comics, he's always doing and stretching his body in weird ways. Like there's so many panels of him just like stretching out one eye and like going and seeing what someone's doing in the kitchen or something like that. But I do think Pedro Pascal was quirky and nerdy, like Reed is meant to be. Some people were complaining about, it feeling like a science lesson. And it's just like, he's literally one of the smartest people in the MCU. Like that's what he does.
What do you want? What do you mean?
Right.
I can see what you mean about his powers. I do like I saw him do it like a couple times, just doing random stuff. You saw him kind of stretch using the chalkboards. I think you saw him stretch his arm when he was like talking to Johnny and stuff, but it would have been nice to see him use it kind of more randomly. When they did it though, I think they would have been scared because that's the hardest thing to pull off and make it look good and not weird. And when they did it, it looked really good. Oh, and yeah. I was like, it's like almost like I get it. That's fine. I get why you kind of, and like even in the trailers, they barely showed it. People were like, man, I'm kind of worried because they're not showing it. And I think they wanted to save it, obviously, for the movie, which was fine. But I think that's probably the reason why, which is fine. Just hopefully as they continually do more stuff with them, I hope we see more of it for sure.
Yeah. I think after this movie, and I mean, the general consensus that I've seen, anyways, right now is that people think that Fantastic Four is pretty good. So I think, as they go forward and they flesh out these characters a little bit more in the MCU, hopefully we'll get to see more of the weird stuff. And even, Ben Grimm, I wish he would have been in the movie and displayed his powers a little bit more. Like, yeah, he pulled a boat out of the ocean, and knocked down a building. But
yeah, you did knock down. That was cool to see them like work together at the end. That's the one thing. There was pieces of the third act I really liked. I mean, it was pretty predictable that Silver Surfer would be, because as soon as Johnny's like, tell Franklin his uncle loves him or whatever, I was like, they're not going to do this. Because the one thing in my brain, because the Thunderbolts post-credit scene is obviously in my brain during this movie. Like, are they going to connect it at all? Whatever. I thought for a second that they were going to send the baby, and maybe just the baby and Sue, maybe just the baby, maybe the baby and Herbie. I thought they were just going to like send the baby to 616 world. That's what I thought was going to happen. Because as soon as everything, like, especially when Silver Surfer started taking out all those bridges, I was like, well, plan's fucked. What are they going to do?
Plan.
It was a good workaround to what they did. And that's really smart. They're like, oh, we'll send him to the end of the universe and it'll take him millions of years to get back there. I'm like, oh, that makes sense. He has no ship. Like, he's fucked. They definitely ruined his day hardcore. And that's smart too. It's like, you can't kill Galactus, like, so it was a smart way to vanquish the villain for the time being, for sure. I can't think of a better way. They could have done that, at least for me. I've seen a lot of people say this, and I'm for it. A lot of people think that post Secret Wars, this universe should be the new MCU. Like, bring the X-Men in, Spider-Man lives in this New York City. Like, everyone who's going to continue in the MCU going forward should live in this universe. What do you think about that? Are you down for that?
I'm down for that. I mean, I've only seen one movie set in this universe. I like this universe because it's
cool.
Not afraid to be quirky and goofy, and I want to come back to it.
I know it's going to come back in Avengers Doomsday, which kind of leads to the post-credit scene, which of course gives us a sort of it does. It gives us our first look at Dr. Doom. The Russo brothers directed this post-credit scene. That was RDJ in the costume. It's been confirmed that it was him. It's given me a few thoughts of what this could mean for Doomsday. One I like, one I don't like. The one I like is that people seem to think that Doom has come, because obviously they tease Doom throughout the movie with the Latveria of it all. MTC, obviously that's for Dr. Doom. Come on. Any nerd who knows anything about Dr. Doom, we're like, Leo point me. I looked at Sam and she was like, stop being a nerd. A lot of people seem to think that there's been a relationship with Doom and the family at some point. And this is like, they've been the Fantastic Four for 8 years at this point, because it's 4 years later. And who knows? It seems like he wasn't on the mission with them when they got their powers, because I feel like they would have said that if that was the case. But maybe not. It's kind of an easy thing to work around regardless. But I would assume they have some sort of relationship with Dr. Doom. And I think he's going to show up and be like, hey guys, the multiverse is fucked. We got to go save it. Let's go figure this out together. I know we don't see it eye to eye, but I think we need to work together on this to make sure our world doesn't get destroyed, which would make sense. And then that's how Downey's Dr. Doom gets into the 616 too, which would be kind of cool. I like that. I like that theory and idea. Of course, it'll probably be wrong, because it's usually how it goes. The other thing is that he somehow gets wind of Franklin, or knows about Franklin and whatever, and he goes to utilize his powers. And a lot of people think that, obviously Franklin saved Sue's life, which makes sense because he can create fucking universes. So of course he can bring someone back from the dead. Makes sense. As soon as she died and the baby got out, I was like, oh, she's not dead. I mean, I didn't think she was dead anyway. obviously. I didn't think they were going to kill one of the Fantastic Four in the first movie. That'd be pretty wild, but I didn't see that happening. And that you see his mask is off in the post-credit scene, and at first RDJ's Doctor Doom is disfigured, and then Franklin heals his face. I'd kind of hate that, if I'm being honest. I don't think I'd like that. I either want his mask on to be at all times, which I know it's not going to be on at all times, but most of the times. But even when he gets unmasked, and obviously it ends up being this crazy emotional blow for the characters we've known and loved, witnessing they're like, that's Iron Man. What the fuck? I was hoping he'd be like a little disfigured, at least a little. What do you think about those two ideas?
I mean, I definitely like the first one better.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how, because there's so many ways that they could have interacted, like you said, he probably didn't go on the space mission with them. I think there's actually a Doctor Doom comic that I read, and Reed Richards like meet in college and then kind of become each other's
frenemies.
Yeah, exactly. That way I'm really curious to see how they're gonna make it work. I have, and you might have heard this too. I heard one theory, and it's kind of big brain, so I don't know if it's gonna actually work.
Okay.
But one person said that Robert Downey Jr. was never supposed to be Iron Man, that he was always Doom, and Doom is the one person that Kang feared. So he manipulated the time stream or whatever, and Robert Downey Jr. was adopted by the Starks and, became Iron Man. I don't know if that would work, but I thought it was interesting, and creative.
It's a good workaround to explain the Kang stuff, kind of brush it off, and because I'm wondering if there's going to be like a scene where he like kills the councils of Kangs or something, or if they're just going to ignore it. I have no idea.
I hope they kill off all of the Kangs. That would be so sick, but
it would be
I don't
awesome.
know if they're going to bring back Jonathan just to do that.
Yeah, right. It would be cool, but I don't know. I kind of hope they bring Kang back and do the whole Iron Lad story, because the Iron Lad story is awesome. And obviously they're not going to do it now. There's Iron Heart. I don't think they're going to bring in another Iron Lad. They could just be too convoluted, at least right now. I don't think it makes sense. So I kind of hope they put Kang in the back burner, but bring him back eventually, because he is a really cool villain, honestly. And even what they did in Loki was awesome. I just feel like they totally misused him in Ant-Man 3. He should not have lost at all.
The most powerful version of Kang gets defeated by Ant-Man. Come on.
Makes zero sense. Even outsmarted by Ant-Man. Come on. This dude's supposed to be a genius. He is a descendant of Reed Richards. There's no way. Sorry. Not happening. Doesn't make any sense. I do like that theory a lot. I had a similar theory in a way that even if this version of Doctor Doom was kind of a similar thing, like he ended up getting adopted and he still is a variant of Tony, or like this one, it's kind of the opposite. This one is Tony Stark, but he got adopted by the like Von Dooms and became Victor Von Doom. That would be cool too. I'm very much, a new report came out, and obviously take this with a grain of salt, is that RDJ could be the Doctor Doom post Secret Wars, which I don't love. I like it for the narrative purpose of him kind of concluding this multiverse saga. It makes sense a lot what they're doing story-wise, bringing back all these X-Men characters. And I'm sure, obviously, like Hugh Jackman's going to be involved in either Doomsday or Secret Wars with Deadpool. And I'm sure Toby and Andrew are going to come back as the Spider-Men and shit like that. Like, they're going to go all the fuck out. Like, if Deadpool and Wolverine is any constellation for what these Avengers movies are going to be, they're going to be off the wall. And some people complaining of like, oh, these are the characters we're getting. I'm like, those are the ones they're just announcing. You don't think they're going to keep people secret? Look how many secrets there were in Infinity War and Endgame. Like, so many. Like, we didn't even know what those movies were until they came out. Like, they were very smart about the marketing, very smart about keeping stuff hidden. Like, there's going to be tons of surprises. I guarantee it. But I did kind of really want it to be this narrative close for this kind of stuff, and then as they go forward, maybe even the new Doctor Doom helps defeat RDJ's version of Doom, and then we get a different Doctor Doom as the multiverse gets recreated or whatever. Because Feige said he's like Secret Wars is going to be a big restart for the MCU, or reboot as he called it, in ways. Because I think some people will stay, some people will go, some people will never get brought up ever again, and some people are going to get recast. I'm sure T'Challa is finally going to get recast.
Yep.
I think Tony Stark and Captain America might even get recast eventually.
Probably Thor and maybe even the Hulk too.
Yeah, I could totally see that happening, because my big theory, and it has been for years, Thor is dying in Doomsday. Maybe Secret Wars, but he's dying. I think it's going to be like a mirror of Infinity War, where he like dies. Him and Loki have a really emotional, reconnection, and then he ends up sacrificing himself. And that's, I mean, what bigger to show that Doctor Doom is a threat by killing the Chris Hemsworth's Thor? It's a big deal. It's a big player, one of the big three. Big deal. The only one left, which I'm sure Chris Evans might come back, or maybe he won't. I don't know. There's
that rumor that he might come back as the Hydra Captain America. Yeah,
I could see once they get to Battle World that like Doom has this crazy, or even in Doomsday where they have like an evil version of the Avengers fighting off with the new Avengers or something. They have Natasha come back, but she's like an evil Black Widow, and that could be a cool thing with Elena and Red Guardian. There's a lot of stuff they can do that is ripe for the taking. I'm a big Russo Brothers fan, especially obviously within the MCU. So I'm just stoked to see what they're going to give us, because I have no idea. I mean, obviously we kind of have an idea what Secret Wars could be from the Hickman comic, and I guess from the original Secret Wars too. But I still think they're going to do something very different. Like the Infinity Gauntlet comic is nothing like Infinity War. The only similarity is that there's Thanos and the Infinity Gauntlet. That's pretty much it. Everything else is, but adapting that comic book would have sucked. It's all like weird cosmic stuff that happens mostly in one location. And the climax happens when Gamora takes the glove off of him. because he becomes a cosmic being. Not really great cinematic material there. But I mean, Hickman's Secret Wars is pretty cinematic. Like I definitely hope obviously this panel has been shared to death, but I want
Thanos
the scene. Yeah, I need it. I don't care how some comic fans think it's lame. I need it.
I need to see Emperor Doom rip out Thanos' spine. I need it.
Need it. It's gotta happen. There's also a really cool scene where Black Panther finds the Infinity Gauntlet. I'd be okay with that too. It's pretty cool. There's a scene with like there's this weird like underworld part of the Battle World where like Venom's there and stuff. I'd be okay with Tom Hardy Venom showing up one more time. Why not? Have him interact with Tom Holland's Spider-Man for like 2 seconds. I'd be okay with it. If we just get a little payoff, just a little. They can leave everyone else out of it, but I think Tom Hardy earned it, even though most of his movies were not great.
He tried really hard.
He
and
tried.
It wasn't him.
No. Well, the third one, he helped write it, so it is partially him.
Okay, I didn't watch the third one. I've only seen the first 2.
Don't. That's all I gotta say. It's bad. I thought the second one was bad. The third one's, I think, worse. And I went with low expectations. I am a very positive guy. As long as the movie entertains me, that's the goal I want watching a movie. I know not every movie is meant to, blow my socks off or whatever, but holy shit, those Sony movies that aren't attached to the MCU, almost all of them are so bad, like not even redeemable. Morbius is like the second best one. Morbius.
And that's saying something.
I think the first act of that movie, awesome. The rest of it,
pretty good.
Not great. But Venom's obviously the best one. And that one I think is just a fine movie. It's fun. It's weird. I like how it's weird. It's a very weird movie. But at the same time, the third act is a, CGI clusterfuck. You can't even tell what the fuck's going on. Moving forward, we can kind of end on this. What's coming up next movie-wise? We got Spider-Man and 2 Avengers movies. What more do you want? We have to wait a bit. We got a year until the next MCU movie, which is Spider-Man. And then December is Avengers Doomsday. But I mean, it seems like you're down for these Avengers movies and what they're building to. What's your anticipation level on those movies, at least?
Oh man, you touched on it a little bit earlier, but I think Robert Downey Jr. being Dr. Doom, like at first I wasn't sure how I felt about it, but I think there's going to be a huge emotional factor with that, especially, if there's a scene, it's probably going to make me cry where, Tom Holland's Peter Parker sees that Doom is Robert Downey Jr., you know, that's going to crush him, and in turn is going to crush me. But
Poor
all
kid's
of
been
these
through enough.
characters having to battle their old friend or a version of their old friend, it's going to have a lot of emotional weight to it. Watching Doom create Battle World and who is going to be in charge of these different regions of Battle World, because it's not going to be everybody from the comic book.
Right.
Probably Mr. Sinister probably won't make an appearance. They're probably going to save him for X-Men. But if they brought back like Oscar Isaac's Apocalypse just for that might be cool.
I like that. That would be really cool. Because I don't know if Moon Knight's going to be in these movies. As much as I would love to see Moon Knight in these movies, I don't know if that's happening. They said they have plans for Moon Knight, and he's definitely going to show up and stuff. I just don't know if he holds enough weight from his series to make sense in these movies. I think he'd be much more served if they save him for whatever Moon Knight's son ends up being. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like that would make way more sense because they already kind of toy with the supernatural ish of in that series. But yeah, Oscar Isaac that's a good pull for who could possibly be in this movie. That would be a big surprise. I don't think anyone would see that coming. But make him look more comic accurate, I think.
Absolutely.
Would be better. But that'd be a cool redemption. And you know, the Russos love doing redemption stuff. They made Thor the Dark World so relevant. You know what I mean? So they like doing that stuff. So I think that's a really good pick. I am biased a little to the Robert Downey Jr. of it all. I was in the room when they announced it as SDCC. So I was just like mind blown. And it was like one of the most electric things I ever witnessed in my life. You know, seeing 6,000 people lose their minds when RDJ took off the mask. It was insane, dude. The room exploded. It was nuts. It was so cool. But I also just like, to me, also thinking like a fucking movie nerd, this dude just won an Oscar. And then the project he did after that was a TV series. He got nominated for a Golden Globes. So it's like to go from like award acclaim back to this universe he already did so much in. I feel like the pitch had to be unreal. You know, like as much as people want to, that dude's an actor, man. Like he is so good. Like even in Endgame, like that scene where gets back from the ship is unreal. Like I was mad that he didn't get nominated for Best Supporting Actor for that scene. I know it's hard because of the superhero movie, whatever. Unless you're the Joker or Angela Bassett, you're not going to get nominated for an acting thing in a superhero movie. But he's a great actor, and he puts on great performances, even as Tony Stark. So I'm really excited to see what he brings to the table as like a villain. Because I mean, he played a villain in Oppenheimer, and he was awesome.
Yeah,
he was so.
I saw
awesome.
that in theaters.
Oh yeah,
I saw that opening weekend, and I think that was the last time I was like, I'm not going to go to a movie opening weekend anymore. There's
so
many
that was probably
people.
Crazy.
Yeah,
that makes sense. That was probably wild. I saw it at a press screening, so it was still packed because it was with fans and stuff. But some motherfucker was swiping through Tinder during the Trinity test, and I was like, bro, you got to see this movie early for free, and you're doing this.
The hose can wait, man.
For real. I was like, what the fuck, man? What are you doing? This is like the movie event of the year. What are you doing? What's going on? Crazy. But Ryan, thank you so much for doing this. You're awesome.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, man. I don't get to talk about nerd stuff enough with my bandmates, so it's really cool to come here and geek out with you for a little bit.
You're welcome back. Let's do it again next year. You got a busy end of the year. I don't want to bother you with this stuff during that. So once you guys get those two big tours out of the way and you have some off time next year, we'll do it again. We won't wait 3 years this time. All right.
Okay.
Let's not do that. We talk enough outside of this that we can make it happen. We'll make it work. If there's anything you're super stoked about or whatever, just let me know and you got it. First choice.
Absolutely.
First choice for me. Before we get out here, please let the people know what 156 Sounds has going on, where they can find you this fall.
This fall, we're going out with Counterparts, Throne, and Split Chain. And then immediately after that, we're hopping on tour with Fit for a King, Make Them Suffer, and Spite. And it's going to be a good time. Come hang with us.
Yes, 2 amazing tours that this band absolutely deserves. I've obviously known about you, known you for a long time, so it's always cool to see friends do the coolest shit. It's the best. So congrats on all your success, and I'm sure it's only continue from here. And if you want to support the podcast, milknerds.com, all our links there in one easy place. If you want to follow me on a personal account, it's just at Sean Xmon on Instagram and Twitter. Until next time, see you later, nerds.
Later.